Hello everyone, welcome to What If Deku Was Betrayed, Sealed in Tartarus and Got Trained by Escanor, Meliodas and Ban, The Three Sins Part 1. Before we start, please go support ancalagonintheblack for writing that awesome fanfic. This is the translated version I made. There will be some wrong he or she calling here because it's translated, so let me clear this. Deku is a male in this story. Chapter 1, Betrayal. In the world, people had powers for a long time which they called quirks, something that they began to take as normal, since it affected 80% of the world's population, while the rest were only normal quirkless people. Because of the quirks, the heroes and villains were born, although unlike the villains, the heroes had to take classes in their adolescence, which brings us to UA. The most prestigious academy in all of Japan, the best of all, where people like All Might came out, something that everyone knew well, but the most important thing was with a green-haired boy who was in the schoolyard. Izuku. I still don't understand it. I'm telling you the truth, I didn't do any of that, I swear. Lita. Shut up, you damn traitor, don't think you can fool us like always. He said this to go against Izuku by kicking him, making him spit blood. Izuku. It still doesn't make sense, I'm telling you the truth, I didn't do that. All Might. Don't try to fool us, we already saw the truth and you can't do anything about it, now you're going to die as you deserve for trying to fool us. He said this as he punched him, causing him to spit out more blood as he stood further away from everyone. All Might. It's time to atone for your sins. Izuku. I didn't do any of that. He said it while dropping a treacherous tear, because All Might's successor was in such a deplorable state. It's easy, you just have to go back in time a little further, being a few days ago in the teacher's lounge. Izawa. Mr. Nezu, I don't understand why you called us. Nezu. Well, a little while ago I received an email with a letter asking for everyone to see it. Saying that, everyone paid a little attention to see how he started playing the tape showing how Izuku walked with some reports to meet Kurogiri at the place. Izuku. Hey Kurogiri, I haven't seen you in a while since All Might defeated All for One. Kurogiri. Yes, I know, but did you make sure that no one saw you? Izuku. If I make sure of that, none of those idiots suspect me in any way, you can trust me anyway. He said this while giving him those reports. Izuku. It's about UA security, you like it a lot. Kurogiri. Hey, brat, haven't you ever thought about betraying us? I say this because it doesn't make sense for you to be their friend when in the end you'll kill them all. Izuku. If you're talking about that, then let me tell you something very important so you understand me well. When you're quirkless and everyone, even your idol, tries to break your dreams, you would do things like me. Now go before I prefer to say this to those supposed heroes. Kurogiri. It's okay, it was just a simple question. He said this to leave in the portal while Izuku started to leave, and at the same time the guy who was filming this turned off the camera. Present Might. That miserable bastard turned his back on us, did this to us, and now we have to do something about it. Nezu. Don't lose your head now, Present Might, or we'll end up badly. Cementos. But doing that is very difficult to do when I know that he betrayed us all. All Might. He even betrayed me, I have to do something about that miserable traitor. Nezu. I know, but you still have to stay calm and do what I ask of you. Now more than ever, we will go slowly and safely in what we do. Everyone looked at each other and nodded. Izawa's thoughts. This can't be true, I know my child very well, and I know that tape is not real, something is wrong with all this. Nezu. I want you to inform the entire class 1 and 1B apart from Izuku's family as well as the other professionals and the big three, we will take him by surprise to be able to finish him off. He said it so that everyone would pay attention to what the little principal said. The days began to pass, in which Izuku noticed how his classmates, some of them gave him looks of fury and anger, while others simply showed that they felt bad for him, as if they wanted him to tell them something, a simple answer to a simple question. But he put all this aside, although he noticed something similar in the teachers, there being few like Mama Caterpillar who wanted to help him. He also began to notice it with his mother, Eri, and the big three. The boy just didn't understand why until one day he was entering his class, as if it were a normal day. Izuku's thoughts. How strange they all behaved. Well, I have no choice but to put all that aside, but they also have a somewhat strange look. I thought about it to see their class being that the same ones as always were with those looks, but more than before, while others had an evil smile. Izuku's thoughts. Something tells me to worry about this, but something else tells me to just leave as fast as possible, how weird. Izawa. Midoriya. Izuku. Yes, Mama Caterpillar, I mean Izawa-sensei. Izawa. You have to accompany me for something important. At that point the green-haired man began to follow him. Izawa. Remember one thing, Midoriya, no matter what happens I will always be with you, you have all my trust and hope. Izuku. Yes, I know, but I don't know why he's telling me all this. When they reached a door, they only entered to see all the teachers with a serious look, as well as the professional heroes missing Izuku, who did not understand why those looks. Izuku. I don't understand why I'm here, can you explain it to me? Nezu. I'll be happy to explain it to you, or better yet, how about I show you? Then that he showed a tape that he started playing, showing what they saw before, surprising Izuku who was in pure shock, he couldn't even notice when All Might pulled out his hair to eat it. All Might. Now that we've shown you all this, you're going to have to come with us so we can take you to Tartarus. Izuku. Wait a moment, I swear I didn't do any of that, I can prove it, I swear. Cements. Don't try to confuse us, we know you well villain, you can't fool us, not us anymore. Izuku. But I'm telling you the truth, you have to believe me. Nezu. I'm sorry but it seems we can't do anything in return, we have to do this out of pity for you. Izuku. Just wait and see, I'll bring you the proof. He said this as he opened the door and started to leave, but before he could take 2 steps, he received a full kick from a certain blue-haired man, causing him to go out the living room window in front of everyone's eyes, who simply left. Izuku. Why that Lita? I didn't do anything against you. Lita. You can't fool me, you damn villain, now you will die at the hands of the UA. He said this so that he could see how everyone was beginning to make themselves known, so he began to get up. Izuku. I'm telling you the truth. And that Bakugo gave him an explosion causing him to be sent flying, so that he would receive a knee from behind, because of Mirio, who had a serious look with anger, but at one moment one of Tamaki's tentacles took him to slam him against the floor, followed by throwing him upwards, where Nijire received him to hit him, with her attack full on causing him to crash against the floor, making a cloud of dust so that he began to rise slowly. Izuku. Damn, I can't believe they're actually doing this to me. All Might. Today's class is to attack the traitor. With that, everyone went against Izuku and started attacking him. That took us a few minutes further, showing that green-haired boy all hurt with blood coming out of his body, while he had a serious look and stopped crying in front of all his companions. Izuku. They still don't believe me no matter what I tell them, no matter what happens they won't believe me. All Might. Hey, you didn't do anything to the traitor, I know that your betrayal may hurt him, but come so we can finish him off. The green-haired boy noticed how all those who weren't looking at him with hatred began to approach, and among them was Izawa who only approached with that group with his gaze fixed on him. All Might. End this. The group looked at the green-haired man who noticed their glances that they didn't want to hurt him, but he only put on a smile, as if to say that he didn't care if they hurt him, that he could understand them. It was as if he were saying that so everyone could only start looking at Izuku, and without anyone hearing they thanked him for understanding them, because they knew well that the green-haired man was not going to hold a grudge against them. When they finished they all looked at that green-haired man lying on the floor bleeding all over his body. All Might. It's time to take you to Tartarus. He took the green-haired boy to begin to take him out of the place with some chains tying him up so that he could notice how everyone began to boo him, even his own mother treated him like the worst scum in the world. Causing him to begin to cry without anyone noticing it other than the group that Izuku was able to forgive in a certain way, so that they would put him in a truck where they began to take him away, spending a while until they reached Tartarus where they took Izuku out, taking him to a cell. Guard. I hope you rot in here and die. He said this as he threw the green-haired boy into the cell, which they closed, leaving him as if he were garbage. Izuku. I can't believe I'm going to die like this. The boy closed his eyes so that he appeared in a completely dark place. Izuku. Am I dead? I noticed that there was some kind of bar piece since there was that long table that characterizes it next to the stools on one side and on the other were the bottles of alcohol. Izuku. Well, I have nothing to lose. The boy walked to the bar to sit down as if he were waiting for service there until he noticed a wind beginning to pass by one side, so he looked to notice what seemed to be the sky beginning to make a light that transmitted warmth like the sun, but below it seemed to be a kind of hole like a portal, where it was a black hue surrounded by another dark purple color. Izuku. What is this thing? He began to notice how a person who was a little shorter than him began to emerge from the portal below, in the middle of what would be the sun, and the portal began to appear the figure of a man who was noticeably larger than Izuku, while on the side of the sun, he began to notice the figure of a man who was about the same height as him, but he swore that behind that same man, there was another one. Who was bigger and more muscular than the other two. Izuku. Who are they? Boy. Sate, how do I explain it to you? Chapter 2 King of Tartarus. In Izuku's mind he was watching as a blonde boy with a friendly smile came out of the portal, through the sun, only a skinny man of the same stature was coming out with glasses and bar clothes, making it clear that he would be the waiter, and the last one was a kind of blue-haired guy with a bit of grey with a smile on his face and comfortable wine-colored clothes. Each one had a reflection of kindness as he approached the green-haired man who stared at them fixedly, although he noticed how his wounds no longer existed. Izuku. Who are you guys? Boy. Sate, I am Meliodas the Dragon of Wrath and Captain of the 7 Deadly Sins. Man 1. I am Ban the Immortal Bandit, or simply known as the Fox of Greed of the Capital Pieces. And 2. I am Escanor. It is a pleasure to know me as the strongest human, or the Lion of Pride of the 7 deadly sins. Izuku. What are the deadly sins? At that question, they each began to explain what the deadly sins are to that group, surprising Izuku, who just stared at them. Izuku. So if they are the deadly sins, they should be very strong and feared by everyone apart from being respected. Ban. I'm afraid so. Izuku. It's not that I want to offend you or anything like that, but you don't look like you two are feared or strong enough, but Mr. Ban does look that way. Escanor. It seems that we are not giving the impression that we thought we were going to be able to do. Meliodas. In that case, we have to do something about it. They saw how they began to change, being that on Meliodas' side a great darkness was made so that he could be seen with his assault mode. Escanor began to grow bigger to show his the one form. Izuku. Well, now they do give that impression. Ban. You can rest easy using that now, we have to get on with what we came to do. With that, the two of them returned to normal to see Izuku with that smile from before. Escanor. Well, I think we have to start explaining to them. Izuku. It would be very helpful if you believe me. Meliodas. You'll see how you know, we'll explain to you about the capital sins and the commandments. Izuku. Yes. And. We had everything planned, we were going to be able to finish well, but things happened that we didn't want to happen. Izuku. What are you talking about? Meliodas. The Demon King was able to convince the other races and some of our companions to turn against us. Escanor. In other words, they all attacked us without exception. And. There were few people who protected us or wanted to help us. Izuku. I understand a little, but wasn't the goddess clan against the demon clan? Escanor. That's my fault. Izuku. I don't understand. Escanor. Well, what I'm talking about is that knowing about my sunshine is truly the grace of the sun, made all the archangels and clan of the goddesses turn against us in order to get the sunshine out of me, but they didn't want to understand that we needed it to be able to face the clan of the demons. Izuku. What about giants and fairies? Ban. We don't know how they convinced them, but all the fairies and giants, obviously putting Diane and King with them, attacked us. Izuku. I thought that about humans but not about them, although I want to know something, why are you telling me this? Meliodas. We do this because the holy war is not over yet, we need someone to take charge of ending this war, and when we say someone to take charge of ending it, we are talking about a sinner. Izuku. Are you talking about me? I didn't betray you. Escanor. We know, your sin was trusting all of them, giving your trust, but they betrayed you. Izuku. Then they will give me their sins, and I have to avenge them as well as avenge myself. Ban. Yes, we have to do that, although there are some people you don't have to take revenge on. Izuku. Can you explain a little more? Meliodas. I say that Merlin, Elaine and Elizabeth did not betray us, but that they were the ones who helped us reincarnate into someone, that is why we are now in this place thanks to them. Izuku. I understand, but then they are in danger. Escanor. They are no longer in danger since they also decided to reincarnate, thanks to that we will be able to see them again in a certain way since reincarnation and trustworthy people. Izuku. In that case, I agree to be the next sinner. Escanor. We like you because you are not going to be the sin of pride. Meliodas. You will not be the sin of wrath either. Ban. Or the sin of greed. The three of them surrounded Izuku to extend their arms upwards, causing a kind of sphere to begin to form which was yellow like the sun, dark like Meliodas' demonic power, and somewhat purple because of Ban's power. Meliodas. You will be Izuku demon. Escanor. The monster. Ban. From the sin of revenge. After finishing saying that, they made the sphere go down, entering Izuku's body so that he could see how a tattoo formed on his back, another on his left arm and the last one on the side of his stomach, although another one formed on his chest in the shape of a monster's face, outside of his mental space. He had those changes as he got up. Izuku. It seems I'm whole again and now stronger than ever before. He said this while squeezing her hand until he heard some prisoners beginning to enter his cell. Prisoner 1. Do we really win our freedom if we kill this one? Prisoner 2. I think this is going to be more than easy. The green-haired man turned around so they could stab him with a metal bar, causing him to fall dead to the floor. Prisoner 3. Okay, we're done. They began talking as they walked away from the body without noticing that it was slowly beginning to rise with a smile on its face to stand again. Izuku. Hey, that's offensive to get my attention, but leaving as if nothing happened is a bad thing for the king of all Tartarus. Hearing that, they looked at the green-haired man who took out the metal rod with a sadistic smile, and his wound began to heal. Prisoner 2. This doesn't make sense. Prisoner 1. He has to be dead. Izuku. You know something, I'm in a good mood so I'll let you all live today, but not before taking a small punishment, and I want you to tell the rest of the prisoners that Izuku the monster of revenge is the king of all Tartars, and if you have any complaints then come and tell me to my face. He said it to launch himself against the prisoners, making a scream be heard in that place. In another part, Momo went to sleep feeling bad for what happened to that green-haired man who could conquer her heart. Now he was in her dreams. Momo. Are these my dreams? It looks a little empty. I looked everywhere until I noticed a door to enter, seeing a place where experiments are done. Momo. What is this place? Woman. It seems that I will finally be able to reincarnate. Hearing a voice, I look where it came from. It was a black-haired woman who showed a lot of her body and who was doing some experiments. Momo. Excuse me, but who are you? Woman. My name is Merlin, the boar of gluttony from the 7 deadly sins. By saying that he confused the girl. Momo. I'm sorry but I don't understand anything. Merlin. Let me explain everything to you. The woman began to explain everything the other sins explained to Izuku, making Momo surprised at that. Momo. I can't believe that actually happened. Merlin. Well, it will do you good to hear that my 3 companions helped reincarnate that boy named Izuku, although I'm sure they didn't tell him who he was going to be reincarnated into. Momo. At least that way he'll be safe from what I know. Merlin. Yes, but from now on you will be Momo Yaoi Rozu, the boar of gluttony of the 7 deadly sins. She said this as she began to pass her crystal sphere, being taken by the brunette. Elsewhere was Jiru going to sleep after everything that happened with her beloved green-haired boy. The girl out of shame was in a relationship with Kaminari as she tried to forget her love for Izuku since he was Uraraka's boyfriend, but now she didn't know what to do. Now in her mind she appeared above a huge tree, noticing that forest apart from a fountain. Jiru. What is this place? It looks familiar to me, but I don't understand why. Girl. Hi, it seems like we can finally meet each other, Jiru. Hearing that voice, I look at a kind of blonde girl with a white cloth floating next to her. Jiru. Who are you? Girl. My name is Elaine and I am the guardian of the fountain, or well, I was the guardian of the fountain. Jiru. What is this place? Elaine. It's the Fairy King's forest. Jiru. Fairy. Elaine. Let me explain it to you, when you hear it you will understand everything. The girl only began to tell her story of all her loneliness until she met Ban and how she died, but in the end, she was able to come back to life to be with her loved one, being with him until the betrayal that was done to the 3 strongest sins of all. Jiru. So they betrayed those Escanor, Meliodas and Ban. Elaine. Yes, in fact his target was Meliodas and Escanor. Jiru. Then why Ban too if he didn't do anything? Elaine. Ban didn't plan on leaving Meliodas or Escanor alone, so he decided to help them, apart from that they are his best friends. Jiru. And they decided to reincarnate as you. Elaine. Yes, all 3 reincarnated into the same person a few minutes ago. Jiru. And who is that person? Elaine. Well, you know Izuku. Jiru. Then I can rest easier with this. Elaine. Although when you see him again you have to tell him about me since I'm sure those 3 didn't say anything to him. But that the girl nodded. Elsewhere Melissa had just finished her experiments thinking about talking to Izuku, but due to tiredness, she could only sleep appearing in a kind of sky. Melissa. What is this place? Girl. This place is one where I can feel calm. Hearing that I look at a white-haired girl with a smile. Melissa. Who are you? Girl. I'm Elizabeth Lyons, nice to meet you. Melissa. Hello Elizabeth, what am I doing here? Elizabeth. Let me explain. The girl only began to explain what happened to Izuku, making him feel bad apart from the deadly sins in his life, making him surprised to what extent his love for that demon went for him to end up telling everything in that way. Elizabeth. And now the 3 of them reincarnated in Izuku, now he is safe with all that power, but the important thing is that you go to the UA to be able to enter and meet the reincarnations of Merlin and Elaine. Melissa. Yes, but how can I get into UA without a quirk? Elizabeth. Don't worry about that, now you will have my power and memories, that's why you will be able to enter. Melissa. Thank you. With that, a light passed through the girl, while in Tartarus Izuku was sitting on a stone in the shape of a seat, and to support his feet, he used the bodies of some prisoners who went against him when trying to challenge him for the title of King of Tartarus. Izuku. Looks like they've already arrived. He said it with a smile on his face. Chapter 3 Free. Months passed since Izuku was betrayed by those he thought were his friends and was rotting in the Tartarus prison, the most dangerous in all of Japan, but the truth was that the boy only used that place to be able to train, since he met the previous 3 sinners, the boy had an enormous power which he had to start training with everything he had. Becoming stronger every day than the previous, becoming the true king of Tartarus, but at UA something happened with the students who moved on to the 2nd year, now he was in the teacher's lounge. Izawa. Now why did they call us? I have to be training my children who are waiting for me apart from the new child in the classroom. Nezu. The truth is, we have problems. Midnight. What problems are we talking about? Nezu. We talk about problems so big that they can cause everyone to attack and criticize us. Saying that, everyone became more serious. All Might. Tell me what's going on. Nezu. It's a very serious topic and at the same time very difficult to say since it's about the League of Villains. Saying the last thing made everyone start to worry. All Might. Now tell us what's going on, we need to know what's going on. Nezu. Well, the truth is that Endeavor found a place for the League of Villains and we were able to arrest many of them, one of them being Dobby. Cements. I imagine I'm questioning him. Nezu. Yes, I interrogated him and he only told me what he knew about the building where he was arrested. Present Might. What did he say? Nezu. He didn't say anything about the League of Villains, but the most important thing was that that building had editing stuff for advertisements or whatever, apart from letters and reports from the UA. All Might. Let's get to the point. Nezu. We found evidence that proves that former UA student Izuku Midoriya, former successor of One for All, is innocent. Saying that, everyone was surprised as they looked at the director hoping it was a joke, but a certain Mother Caterpillar was more than happy, almost already planning to throw a bigger-than-life party, and spent all of UA's money on that party in order to have her offspring back. All Might. You're not telling a joke, are you, director? Izawa. Obviously he's not telling a joke, this is real. Nezu. Yes, right now Endeavor is in charge of saying everything about this discovery on TV, while Izawa is going to be in charge of telling this to the entire class TUA and the rest of the teachers to the entire UA. Midnight. And when will he leave Tartarus? Nezu. Well, he's going to be taken out of Tartarus today. I already have the papers and everything that's needed except someone to go get him. Midnight. I want to be the one who looks for Izuku. All Might. I want to do that too. He said this so that Nezu would give him the papers with which they began to leave the place. They were more than nervous for a while they were in a car until they arrived at Tartarus, where they entered with those nerves. Bard. Do you need anything? All Might. If we bring papers to release a specific prisoner. Saying that, he gave her the papers and when he saw the name that appeared on those papers, he began to tremble with fear. Bard. Please follow me. Saying that they began to walk, noticing the nervousness of the place, but as they walked they began to notice how some prisoners had scars like burns or cuts, while others were simply missing limbs, although they were not the only ones since some guards at the place were in the same way. All Might. I've been here many times and I've never seen this kind of thing. Hey sir, I'd like to know what happened to all these guards and prisoners. They have wounds and scars that I've never seen here. Bard. Well, what happened is that one day they locked something in this place, something very dangerous. Midnight. How dangerous are we talking about? All Might. What kind of human is capable of doing this to other humans? Bard. Not human, he's a real demon like you've never seen before. He said this so that they could see how a cell opened, revealing some chains. All Might. Young Izuku, are you in there? Izuku. So I've been getting visitors for a while now, or at least from other inmates trying to take my title. Midnight. Evidence was found that you are innocent, you can leave. Saying that they heard how the chains began to move, making the guards begin to move away from the door before the eyes of the professionals who did not understand it until they heard how those chains reached their limit being fully stretched, but they ended up breaking so that the boy they came to look for could come out of the cell, but he had a very noticeable change. His physique is more than different from normal, while he had those tattoos with jade eyes slanted in the pupils and hair like Meliodas, but the tips were like bands. Izuku. It seems that they finally came to get me out of my confinement. I've been waiting for a long time. Do you know that? Midnight. What happened to you? She said this with a noticeable blush as she appreciated the body that was presented in front of her. Izuku. I was only in this place for a while, nothing more than that. Is there a problem? All Might. No, now you can go back to UA. Izuku. Sounds fine to me, but what do you mean I'm not going to end up killing someone or I'm just going to stay? That question made them look surprised as they stared at him. Izuku. I see you're not thinking anything, let's go anyway. They began to walk but as they walked they noticed how all the prisoners and guards stepped aside or simply tried to hide from the Mist 2 who had an evil smile on his face, as if he promised a lot of pain for the first one who looked at him. Izuku. Boy, I'm going to miss this kind of things, but well, you can't do many things, or so I think a little until I get outside. When they reached the exit of the place, he stopped her so she could turn around, causing everyone to hide so as not to have his gaze on them. Izuku. Everyone pay attention to what I'm going to say to each and every one of you, from today I'm going to be outside, but I'm still your king, the king of all Tartars, and the first prisoner you see outside this place because he escaped, then rest assured that I will end your miserable life. He said it with a sadistic smile, making everyone start to tremble at such a thing that mixed movie showed with his sadistic smile, looking at each of the cells and places where the guards were who could hardly breathe from the nerves and fear they had of the boy. Izuku. I will end the lives of all of you if you dare to defy my orders. He said this as he walked away from the place and entered a car where All Might and Midnight got in. They couldn't believe the extent of control that the boy who was once known as the kindest and most innocent in the UA had over all of them. All Might. Can you explain to us what happened? Izuku. If you talk about what happened inside, then I simply awakened my true power, and since what I did I took control of all of Tartarus, nothing happened without me noticing. All Might. So everyone in Tartarus is afraid of you and at the same time respects you for your enormous power. Izuku. Let's say yes, I am their king whom they never dare to challenge in any way. Midnight. That's why your new form. Izuku. It seems like you're getting smarter and smarter, darling. Saying that, the woman only blushed even more at the boy who stood before her. When they began to be in the city, she began to notice how everything was in chaos, as more and more stores and more things began to be marked with graffiti. Apart from that, in the news, Izuku's innocence was shown. Izuku. It seems that they did a nice remodel because of me. I don't know if I should feel praised for this, since they were expecting my arrival. I don't think they put in much effort, but I definitely like it a lot. All Might. What happened? Midnight. It seems that the reaction of all the citizens did not like this. Izuku. Obviously they're not going to like it if the Nomus's attacks on the city have increased too much since they betrayed me. All Might. How do you know that? Izuku. Please All Might, use your head more than your muscles. I am the king of Tartarus, obviously I can find out everything. I have ears everywhere without exception. All Might. Okay. Izuku. Looks like we're getting closer. In that I noticed how I was beginning to be closer to the UA, although around it there were people complaining, but Present Might was above everything. Present Might. Please make way as young Izuku approaches. Saying that, everyone began to notice how that car was getting closer, so they all moved aside, leaving the path clear so they could pass with that boy without anyone knowing what he was like now. When the car passed by, they closed the path again in the hopes of being able to see the boy, but Izuku just got out without anyone seeing him, so he could go inside the UA. Izuku. It's been a while since I saw this place, I think I can get used to seeing it again. When they arrived at the director's room, he only saw Nezu with an evil smile at the little director who was nervous like all the teachers in the place. Nezu. Hello young Izuku, how are you? Izuku. Fine, but if I agreed to come it was so I could discuss certain things with you, I want some things in return. Sniper. Boy, don't play with us if we let you out it was. He was silenced as he watched Nezu raise his hand, silencing him. Nezu. Professor Sniper, we have no right to complain, you can tell us what you want, young Izuku. Izuku. Well, the first thing is that they give me a new hero name with my license, second a new suit, third I will hit all the students I want, as long as I have my reasons, no matter how small they are, so they can't say anything to me or complain. Nezu. But that depends on which students he's trying to hurt. Izuku. Look Nezu, I say what I want, and you will be the ones who accept what I tell you, understood? Nezu. But. Izuku. Well, if we're going to go with it then I think certain reporters and people will like to hear my words a little. Saying that, everyone became nervous at such a thing. Nezu. Okay, we accept your proposal. Izuku. Sounds good to me. He said it with a smile. Nezu. If he doesn't have any problems, we want to see his current abilities. Izuku. Sounds fine to me, I'll gladly show them to you, I have no problem with that at all. He said this as he stood up to start walking calmly without any problem under the gaze of the teachers, while Izawa was dealing with his class since they received the news that Izuku was truly innocent. Lita. Please Izawa-sensei, let us go for Izuku, I beg you. Uraraka. Let me go get my boyfriend. Izawa. I can't do that out of shame, but if you care we have to do a test, those who pass that test will be able to go look for young Izuku. With that, everyone nodded and started walking towards the courtyard, although no one noticed that Mama Caterpillar was smiling because she knew that her offspring was in the UA courtyard, while three girls were smiling because they felt a specific magical power, knowing who it was at that moment until they reached the courtyard. Bakugo. What is the test we have to do? Izawa. You'll see. He said this with a smile as he looked at a tree branch on which the feet of someone staring at them could be seen. Chapter 4 Humiliation. The entire class Tua was more than impatient, and it was quite obvious since now that they knew about their partner's innocence, they were going to take advantage of this to be able to get him out, trying to get his forgiveness as quickly as possible, although they still didn't know what they had to do, although the only ones who were still calm among the entire group were 3 girls who were beginning to be noticed by the rest of the group who were beginning to see them. Bakugo. I know I'm quite an imperious person with my explosions and other things, but I don't understand why you're so calm, knowing that we have to do this job to go for Izuku. Uraraka. It's true, that makes it clear that they don't care about him at all. Momo. Please, I can't believe you still haven't realized it even though it was pretty obvious. Kirishima. What are you talking about? Jiru. Use the head you have at least a little in your entire life, knowing that Izuku is innocent and we have to do a test to be able to go after him sounds like something ridiculous. Melissa. In a way we're trying to say that Izuku is already free and possibly coming here, so the test is kind of useless. Jiru. And even if we pass the test and Izuku remains a prisoner of Tartarus, we cannot take him out without a registration to be authorized. Momo. And obviously we are not doing a test for ourselves but for him. Izuku. As always, they solve everything. Hearing that voice they looked everywhere until they noticed how that former green-haired boy got down from the tree, showing a smile on his face, surprising everyone with his change, except for certain girls, who only had a smile with a slight blush because of the boy's body. Lita. Is that you Midoriya? Uraraka. Deku-kun. Izuku. I'm afraid not. Saying that they began to get confused. Izuku. I am none of those since I am Izuku Demon, the monster of the 7 deadly sins, the sin of revenge and leader of the 7 deadly sins. When they finished, everyone was surprised as they looked at Izuku walking towards them. Izuku. Since you girls resolved it now I have to do a test with you to see my current potential. Melissa. Hi Izuku, we haven't seen each other for a while, I like your change. Izuku. Thanks for that. Izawa. Well my big son, the test is going to deal with points, each one will be able to fight against him or fight all at the same time. Lita. But professor, that's a bit unfair. Izawa. I don't care, what I want is for Cementos to make the terrain a little difficult to move on. Saying that they were about to go to Izuku to talk to him while Izawa was in charge of looking for Cementos, but that was not going to work. Izuku. I'm sorry but I don't think that's going to work since I can handle everything myself. Izawa. Really? In that case I want to see it. Izuku. I just ask that you move away a little. In the teacher's lounge they watched through the window at everything that was happening. All Might. Are you sure with this test? When we arrived we saw how dangerous young Izuku can possibly be. Nezu. I'm sure Izawa will look for Cementos, but with this they will be able to talk to him. In class 2B they managed to see the class in front of the mixed movie. Shinso. Hey, you guys have to see this. They looked at the class and Izuku. Hendo. What's going on? Shinso. If I am not mistaken, Izuku was supposed to come today and I think judging by those clothes, he is Izuku. Hendo. How do you know that? Shinso. Question a teacher. Monoma. Please, that weakling is back at UA, how pathetic. At one point they saw how he hit the floor, causing it to break, while some stone pillars as the earth of the place began to rise, making it difficult to see around because it could be attacked from any side. Hendo. What is that enormous force? Mei. Surprisingly, she has enormous power, more than I thought. This and more things were being said while in the teacher's lounge. Cements. I don't think I'm necessary. Midnight. But how much strength does he have? He's too strong to do something like that. All Might. This is one of the reasons why he is so dangerous, but how far can he go? Inside the place, the entire class Tua looked at the place trying to walk in order to see Izuku, but they couldn't find anything. Sato. He has enormous brute strength. Kirishima. We're supposed to start walking around this place, but we have to find it. Melissa. The girls and I will go one way. He said this as he left with Jiru and Momo, leaving class 2 alone. They began to walk to one side, although for a moment Tokoyami separated from the entire group, beginning to walk alone around the place without being able to find anything. Tokoyami. I can't find Izuku, but the good thing is that now I have the advantage, this made me find many shadows so Dark Shadow can help me a lot. Izuku. Really? How strong did you get during all this time Tokoyami? Upon hearing it, I looked into the darkness where that mixed up movie was beginning to emerge with a serious look that conveyed fear. Tokoyami. I'm sorry Izuku, but if what I have to do is defeat you then rest assured that I will give it my all. He said this as he began to make Dark Shadow come out, becoming bigger and bigger in front of Izuku, who still had his smile on his face. Izuku. Dark Shadow is still pretty cute, but it seems he needs help to grow a little more I say. Saying that with a sadistic smile he began to make his demonic mark appear along with those wings of dark matter, which only began to block out the light, but Dark Shadow, instead of getting bigger, looked more and more impressed and a little scared. Izuku. Let the game begin. Elsewhere where Kota was, Sato, Hajiro and Toru were walking. Sato. Hey, it seems to me or wasn't Tokoyami coming with us? Toru. Now that you mention it, it's true. Hajiro. But in that case, where did he go? By asking that question on one side there was an explosion of dust so that they could see how Izuku was with his evil smile and had Tokoyami grabbed by the collar of his shirt while he was unconscious. Izuku. I think they forgot something along the way. Hajiro. What did you do to him? Izuku. Nothing special, just a small detail of this test, and it was a hunt. Saying that, he threw Tokoyami to where he was, who took him so that at one point they saw Izuku get into a pose. Izuku. Hunter's Feast. Saying that, everyone began to feel like they were losing their energy, just like those inside the UA. Midnight. What's wrong? All Might. I have no strength left. The group had knelt before Izuku who went against them to pass by them, leaving the unconscious ones on the floor. Izuku. They didn't last long against me, just pathetic. The boy began to walk without caring about anything at that moment so that after a while they would find the rest of the class. Izuku. Looks like I found them. Bakugo. What did you do? Izuku. Let's say it's a part of my power, and let's say that in the end it all works, I better stop doing this, I don't like all my fights ending so quickly. He said this so that his muscles would return to normal, allowing everyone to get back up. Todoroki. I don't understand what happened. Izuku. One of my abilities, just that, nothing more than that. Bakugo. Deku, I'll show you how inferior you are to me. He launched himself against Izuku trying to do significant damage, but at one point he was sent flying by a kick from the mixed-haired boy. Izuku. It seems like they need more than that, they are very weak. He said this to launch himself against him to start going first for Kirishima, who hardened his body receiving a hit of dark matter, causing him to be sent flying breaking some rocks, so that he would turn around giving a full hit to Mina, leaving her unconscious followed by going against Mineta giving him a kick so that he fell completely unconscious. Izuku. They're very weak, but I want to try this on you. He said this as his demonic mark began to form. Haminari. It doesn't matter how strong you become. He said it to launch his electricity against Izuku receiving it full force, but Izuku walked towards him, as if it were nothing in front of him, so that he would get in front of him, giving him a punch in the stomach, leaving him unconscious, followed by going against Sai, giving her a hit in the neck, causing her to fall in front of him, so that Lita tried to do something to her with a kick, but she did nothing to him since he took her as if it were nothing in front of him. Izuku. You're not even worth the trouble to face me. He said it to hit him in the stomach, leaving him unconscious to throw him far away, but in a moment hundreds of rocks fell on him making a cloud of dust, but Izuku began to come out without a single scratch to pass in front of Uraraka and with one blow leave her unconscious. Izuku. They're not even good for training. Bakugo. Don't be so sure. He launched himself against him, starting to throw explosions in order to hurt him, while in front Kirishima tried to hit him, but they were all blocked by Izuku's finger, surprising the red-haired man who was only trying to do something to him, but nothing worked. At one point, he grabbed Kirishima and Bakugo by the neck as they began to look at him. Izuku. They don't do anything to me. He kicked Kirishima in the stomach, bringing out his hardening, leaving him unconscious and sending him flying, causing him to stay on some rocks, followed by hitting Bakugo in the stomach, causing him to spit blood, followed by slamming him against the floor, leaving him unconscious, so that at one point he could dodge a huge amount of ice thrown by Todoroki, who tried to do something against him, but everything was dodged with great ease. Izuku. You better give up, you don't want to keep fighting with me. Todoroki. I'm not going to give up that easily. He said this as he began to create more ice and at the same time launched his fire, but Izuku at one point grabbed a somewhat long piece of stone. Izuku. Full counter. Saying that, the attack was again against Todoroki, hitting him squarely with the Vi color, causing him to fall unconscious in front of Izuku, who had a slight smile on his face. Izuku. They're of no use to me. Before he left, a fairly high light hit him directly, causing him to end up moving away with some burns, followed by a wind that blew him away so that he would get serious, making a cruel sun that he threw to one side, creating a huge explosion, but from the smoke came Melissa, Jiru and Momo, being protected by a perfect cube, surprising Izuku, but this made him smile. Izuku. No wonder I was starting to feel like you guys had some magic that looked familiar to me. Melissa. Yes. Izuku. Well, someone can make everything go back to normal. By saying that, Momo made all the rocks and dirt return to normal with one movement, causing everyone to see how Izuku left the entire class or almost all of them for the girls who were inside the perfect cube. Chapter 5 Bar. Everyone watched as Izuku approached the girls with a smile on his face to be with them, while Momo took out the perfect cube to be closer to the now movie star, who had a smile to see those who would be in a certain way his loved ones who had the same smile. Izuku. Hi, it's been a while since we've seen you, although in a way I was hoping that you would have your abilities. Jiru. I guess that's good coming from you. They then began to hug him, and he accepted the girl's hug to enjoy the moment he was having with them until they separated. Momo. Now I hope you are stronger than before. Izuku. Yes I am, but if you give me a few moments. They saw how he went to where Nezu was, who was looking at him. Izuku. I hope that with this display of power I have made clear my current level of power, Director. Nezu. Yes, I can see him and he is tall enough to get back into UA, and right now his mother is waiting for him to be able to have him back in her house. Before he could say anything else, he saw her put her hand in front of him, as if she wanted him to stop talking. Izuku. No need, I already have a house of my own, there's no need for you to try to do something like that for me. All Might. Are you sure? She really misses you and wants to see you back. She wants to. Izuku. Do you want to apologize? Don't say things like that because the damage is already done, there is no way she can get close to me to fix the past, because once the damage is done nothing can be done about it to fix it. All Might. So where are you going to stay? Izuku. Hey Momo, is the bar still here? They noticed the brunette smile, which was self-confident as if she knew what she was doing all the time, like the one Merlin had when that sphere appeared floating at his side. Momo. If it's still there, do you want it with the improvements I made? Izuku. If you let me upgrade, at least I'll be able to see and try to learn more about the bar. Before they continued talking, he noticed how some people approached, being Class B, which had a serious look on some except Monoma, who was still as arrogant as always. The rest were serious, knowing that Izuku alone could defeat the entire Class A on his own, as if it were nothing to him. Izuku. Now what does the great Class B want? Monoma. It's not obvious, we want to change some things because you don't even dream that you're better than us. At one point he grabbed him by the face, lifting him off the floor, causing some to look worried at his action, while the girls were just calm. Izuku. I guess I should have been more specific, should I have asked your president or just some scum who doesn't know how to do anything but copy? He said this to throw him against a tree, causing him to crash into it so that he could see how Tesu launched himself against him. Tesu. Damn bastard, I'll finish you off. When he tried to hit him, Izuku simply kicked him in the stomach, causing him to fly away and crash into some rocks, which saw his hardening break. May. Impressive achievement, destroying Tesu's defense with a single kick. Izuku. Now speak, my patience is limited today. Kendo. We came to give you a fight at the request of the majority of the class, but I guess they don't want to do it now, they can see the superiority you have over them. Izuku. Better, because I don't feel like just continuing with this, I'm too bored to be able to continue hitting more. He said this to see the girls with a smile. Izuku. We can go to the bar now. Momo. If that's what you want. He said this and snapped his fingers, causing them to leave the place as if nothing had happened. After a while, everyone was walking with the teachers. Bakugo. Damn Deku, when I see him I swear I'll kill him. Lita. Don't say that, you saw how he left us all, we are practically nothing before him. Todoroki. And I don't think we'll be able to keep up with him for a long time. At one point they noticed a bar that was near the UA dorms and approached it because it said Boarhead. Nezu. And this bar? All Might. It's new, maybe we should go in to see what it's like. Izawa. Luckily, part of the bar has a space for boys to enter. He said this making part of the class smile, so they entered as if nothing were happening, seeing the interior of the place, which was like Meliodas' first bar, only this one had some things like a television, among other technological things, something that gave it that old and modern touch. Midnight. Part of it may be that I already like the place, we just have to see who serves us. Everyone sat down to hear footsteps and see what the girls Jiru, Momo and Melissa were like, who had the outfits from the bar making some blush, while two perverts only dreamed of the naked girls in bed with a little bit of those outfits. Izawa. What are you guys doing? Melissa. Well, we work at this place only to take your orders. Haminari. And we can order whatever. He said this with a perverted look like Mineta, making them want to touch the girls more and more, but they saw how a knife passed near them which stuck in the table, making them scared so they could see where the knife came from. Izuku. I'm sorry, but touching the employees is not allowed, it's a very important rule in this place. All Might. What are you doing here, young Izuku? Izuku. I work at this place, I'm the boss. All Might. But he's a bit young for that. Izuku. Now you see that it is not like that. Now you will only be able to stay inside if you ask for something, but if not you leave right now. Nezu. Okay, let's get things sorted. Haminari. I can't believe no one can actually just touch them like it's nothing. At one point they heard a somewhat strange noise and saw how in the kitchen Izuku touched Melissa a little, who simply let him touch her. Melissa. Mr. Izuku, what are you doing? Izuku. Just a uniform check. Melissa. If it was just that then it's fine. Jiru. I don't understand why you don't just hit him, that's enough, or telling him not to touch you anymore is more than enough. Melissa. I just like him to touch me. Izuku. And I don't plan on resting. He said this while his head was under the blonde skirt. Lots of boys and men. Damn lucky. Elsewhere with a girl who had found out that a boy had left Tartarus and was happy about it since it was Kami who had once been in love with a green-haired boy for seeing those heroic acts that the green-haired boy did in his past. Kami. I would love to go see him, but what will he say when he sees me? I don't even know what to do. The girl was thinking until she heard someone's voice. Woman. Then you don't know what to do exactly. The girl turned around seeing a woman who was brown-haired with an orange suit and a very enviable body. Kami. Who are you? Woman. I am Diane, the snake of the 7 deadly sins. Kami. 7 deadly sins. She said it with noticeable doubt that the other woman noticed and she only proceeded to tell her about her entire life, causing her to be partly surprised to know such a thing, although she clearly had a doubt. Kami. So if you are a being thousands of years old then why are you not dead? Diane. You see, I need to reincarnate in some way or someone to pass my memories and powers on to. I was searching until I found you since I think you are the right person to have them. Kami. Me. Diane. Yes, I need someone who can have them and join the other sins. Kami. But you said they betrayed the other sins. Diane. Yes, we did that in part, but shortly after, the archangels turned against us, just like the humans, that's why we were betrayed, and we really need someone to pass our powers on to, since they plan to come back and put an end to the deadly sins. Kami. How am I supposed to know who the other sins are? Diane. Well, the one that contains Ban, Meliodas and Escanor is your beloved Izuku, he now has those powers, while other people have Merlin, Elizabeth and Elaine, but the most important thing is that you meet with them and explain everything to them. Kami. Okay, I'll do it. She said it with a smile, so that the woman who was the former sin of the snake began to leave the place in smoke, while in another place there was a girl who is now a heroine, thinking about how to talk to the green-haired man if he could hate her for what happened a long time ago. Najire. How can I talk to Izuku? He might think that I also turned my back on him, especially if I have Eri with me, and to make matters worse, he saw how I yelled at him and said all those ugly things. The girl stopped at a building, landing on it to look at the city. Najire. I don't know what to do, anything can harm me in the worst way. Boy. Yes, that really is a problem. I heard that voice and looked to the side noticing a boy who was floating while hugging a pillow. Najire. Who are you? Boy. My name is King Slothbear from the 7 deadly sins, nice to meet you. Najire. I don't understand. What are you doing here? King. It's true, it's the first time we meet. I have to explain some very important things to you. You'll only understand if you listen to me. Najire. Okay. The former fairy king began to explain everything that happened about the sins, how he turned his back on them, how some time later it was the rest of the world who turned their backs on them, among other things. Hardly surprising Najire, although she felt a little identified since King wanted to make things right with his former friends and captain apart from his sister in order to be at peace again, something similar to what Najire wanted, but she didn't know how to do it. King. Now that I've explained all that to you, I'm sure you want to know why I told you. Najire. If I wanted to know that myself. King. Well, what happens is that they will return at any moment and this time the 7 sins have to fight against all the races, both demonic and goddess. It will be a difficult battle, but we have to win it. Najire. Even if it's just that, I'll be able to be closer to Izuku and maybe get his forgiveness. King. You better do it right because I don't want my reincarnation to make the same mistake I made a long time ago. Trying to kill them was the worst idea I've ever had in my entire life. Najire. I swear I will earn your forgiveness. He said this with a smile, and King left in smoke while everyone in the bar just started to leave. Izuku. I think that's all for today, but why don't you guys go? He said it to the 3 girls who stayed there. Melissa. Well, I don't have a house, I've been moving from apartment to apartment. Momo. I want to stop living with my parents, besides, near the bar is the room of my experiments. Jiru. I just want to stay. Izuku. Then I'm going to prepare the room for sleeping. He said it so they could go and rest. Chapter 6 Forgive. It was morning, everyone was beginning to wake up getting out of bed, but in a bar it was a different story, since in one of their rooms was Izuku who was just resting, next to him was Jiro on the left, Momo on the right, and Melissa above him, making them rest in a much more peaceful way than before. The first to start waking up was Izuku who was just slowly opening his eyes to see the girls who were sleeping on top of him using him as a pillow. "Izuku? How are you? I never thought this would ever happen, I never imagined it." Those were his words as he looked at the girls until he began to feel someone touching his cheek with a finger, making him look at Momo who was awake with a smile. "Izuku? And not all of them are asleep. Momo? I just wanted to rest a little, you know, to enjoy the moment." "Izuku? I have to say it's a little hard to believe seeing the lion of pride with the boar of gluttony when the latter sent him to the free ensign." "Momo? Well, at some point I had to accept my feelings." She said this as she went to give Izuku a kiss who could only accept it in the same way only for the other girls to begin to wake up little by little, causing them to see such a thing just to get jealous. "Jiro? Hey, that's not fair, I want some." "Melissa? Don't get ahead of yourself." They said this as they walked past that boy to kiss him, a while later they found themselves walking towards the academy to enter it where upon doing so they only began to be bothered by class 2A. "Lita? Hey girls, we were talking as a class and we think it's best that you leave that traitor alone." "Melissa? Who are you talking about?" "Haminari. Obviously Izuku's beauty." He said it with a perverted look, starting to get a little closer to Melissa while looking at her body, until he ended up flying away from a kick from Izuku who was just looking at him. "Izuku? Listen carefully you filthy trash, they are with me, and if you dare touch a single hair on their head you will die." "Momo? Besides, we were able to find evidence that he is innocent, which is why we can be with him. Shoto? Or not, we're supposed to have something special between your family and mine." He said this as he tried to get closer to the brunette until at one point a layer of darkness fell over them, causing them to stay on the floor. "Izuku? Listen everyone, don't try to do anything about it or you'll end up worse than you imagine. We proved that I'm stronger than all of you together once, or even if you split up as a group, but the important thing is that I can do it again." He said this as he removed that layer of darkness allowing them to go to their class. When they arrived they only waited a while until Izawa arrived at the place making them look at him. "Izawa? Today we're going to have a training class with some people, everyone please go to the training yard." But that they changed so they could go out. "Jiro? Now we're going to have a pretty simple task I imagine." "Momo? It doesn't matter what it is, as long as we can do it together." "Izuku? Whether they are together or separated, they are still capable of fighting and defeating anyone." He said it with a chibi look while touching Melissa's breasts, causing her to blush. "Melissa? Please we are in public." But that he ended up receiving a blow from Jiro, causing him to stop touching Melissa and fall to the ground. "Jiro? At least try to behave." He said this as he looked at Izuku who was starting to get up. "Izuku? Understood but you didn't have to be so harsh." At one point they saw how 4 people began to approach, being the former 3 greats of the UA as another companion. "Izawa? Today we'll see how they fare against them, the former big 3 of UA and Kami who wanted to get involved." "Najire? It's nice to see you all, and I hope this match is as good as I imagine." "Mirio? They just have to demonstrate what they learned." He said it with a smile as everyone just came to see this. "Mineta? There are beautiful girls today." He said this as he approached little by little, so that a kind of green bear that looked like a giant stuffed animal could hit him, sending him crashing into some trees. "Najire? By the way, we started the fight a while ago, so you should know how to continue." He said this as that bear turned into a spear that stood next to Najire who had a smile, and Kami came to take out some kind of hammer as a weapon. "Momo? Those weapons are Diane and King's sacred treasures, they are very dangerous." "Izuku? They're going to separate us for sure, let me take care of them." At one point Bakugo launched himself against him, causing some explosions. "Bakugo? Don't think that I'm afraid of some little things like you guys." He said this in an attempt to make an explosion that was received by the same bear which appeared untouched by the attack, surprising everyone. "Bakugo? How the hell do I put up with this?" "Najire? That's right, he knows my spear Chastifer, this is its guardian form." He said this as the bear gave Bakugo a hammer blow, causing him to bounce in the air and lose consciousness for a few moments. "Mirio? Okay, let's continue." Amy just proceeded to hit the floor with her weapon, causing some walls to rise and causing everyone to separate. "Izuku? Well we have to start with this." "Momo? I can take care of Mirio, it won't be a problem." "Jiro? That leaves Melissa and me with Tamaki." "Izuku? Okay, be careful, they're dangerous, those 2. He said this as he jumped towards where Najire and Kami were, elsewhere class 2 was facing Mirio and Tamaki who, using their quirks, were defeating everyone with relative ease. "Mirio? Come on class 2, you must prove that you are capable of withstanding blows like ours. Tamaki. They're supposed to have gotten stronger, they have to prove it. He said this as he sent one of his tentacles towards the class, directly hitting some of the falling creatures. Mirio. Looks like we'll be done soon. At one point a piece of earth hit Mirio, causing him to fly and crash into a rock. Tamaki. Where did that come from? At one point he noticed how some air currents went against him, causing him to dodge them, but he couldn't avoid a huge light that hit him, leaving him on the floor. Momo. Looks like we have the advantage here. Jiru. Or at least we did. Tamaki. It's them, because of Najire's words they became very strong. Mirio. Then let me handle this. At one point he was enclosed in a sort of rather large cube which was transparent. Mirio. Now what? Momo. I'm sorry but I can't let you go. Mirio. Then I have to go out on my own. He said this as he went on to use his quirk trying to get out, but to his surprise nothing happened. Mirio. My quirk isn't working. Momo. That's because of my perfect cube, nothing can destroy it or pass through it. Mirio. In other words, I'm trapped. Tamaki. That leaves me alone with them. I try to launch my tentacles against Melissa, but some wind currents coming from Jiru cut it off, making me see the girl floating in the air. Jiru. I'm sorry but you won't be able to handle us. He said this as they surrounded Tamaki. Elsewhere Izuku was only in front of Kami and Najire, with his gaze set on them. Izuku. So sloth bear and jealous snake, you want to fight me now? Najire. You're doing well, we did it to talk. Izuku. I don't think there are many things to say, you betrayed your own, and that must be paid for. He said this as he slowly took his sword in front of the girls. Kami. In that case just listen, after what our previous bearers of this power did, they regretted what they did, the demon and human clan turned against them, they tried to go to the goddess clan, but they did not help them. Izuku. In any case, it is hard to believe in some sins that betrayed in the past, and it does not matter if now you are the one who has their power, they looked for people who are similar. He said this to jump against them and try to make a cut that they dodged, causing him to destroy the ground where they were. Najire. At least try to give us a chance, throw Chastifer first form. But that the spear went against Izuku who only began to dodge it despite the constant attacks he threw at him until he began to block with his sword. Izuku. Looks like you know how to use it, this looks like it's going to put up a bit of a fight. At one point he ended up receiving a blow from Kami who hit him with her weapon, causing him to move away to look at the girl who was spinning her mallet while some rocks rose. Kami. Let's see how everything goes. But that he sent those rocks against Izuku who began to destroy them using his sword, only for that spear to go against him, causing him to block it at the same time until at one point he ended up receiving one of the rocks, throwing him towards the trees so that the rest of the attacks continued to crash against Izuku, causing him to receive all the attacks. Najire. If we continue like this we will win, throws Chastifer sunflower. But that a huge sunflower ended up coming out of the ground which began to throw a ray towards where Izuku was who could do nothing but receive it. Kami. Anymore and he won't be able to do anything about it. At one point the rocks were destroyed and a kind of mini sun crashed into the huge sunflower, causing them to see how all the dust began to come out. Izuku, who used the sunshine walking, well instead of having a sword, he now had a kind of fairly large axe. Izuku. This is over, you better give up because you can't beat me even with all the luck in the world. He said this as he placed the axe on his shoulder. Najire. To be honest, we can't fight against that form, it's impossible for us to win now. Kami. I think we have no choice but to give up. Izuku. That's a decision. He said this as he began to return to his normal state. Izuku. Now I have to think about what I should do with you, I can't leave you with nothing going everywhere. Jiru. Luckily we finished in time to see this. He said this as they approached with an unconscious Tamaki and a locked Mirio unable to do anything. Momo. One of our rules of the deadly sins is that we can give a sin a chance, but we can't completely forgive it. Izuku. In other words, you can stay with us, but don't think we're going to forgive what happened before. We'll be watching you. Najire. I figured that and it's fair. Kami. At least we can go back now. He said this as they began to walk with the others, going to where Izawa was, who watched everything. Izawa. I guess I can only leave them as winners even though not the whole class could. He said this while looking at some of his unconscious students and others who were injured. Izuku. Let's just get this over with. Mirio. I'm still surprised they can do things like this. He said this while touching the perfect cube. Izuku. Better let it go. But that he took it out so that the blonde could be free once and for all. Izawa. You can rest, I'll send you your mistakes later. Izuku. Yes. But that they began to walk away before the eyes of the entire class 2A. Chapter 7 Sins Gathered Together. In a part of Izuku's bar, the young man only woke up little by little as he began to notice how he was waking up in his bed, only to notice how his girls were on top of him, smiling at him, although it didn't take long for them to wake up in the same way. Momo. I think you're having a good morning by the looks of it. Naruto. Whenever I wake up with you two it's a good morning, although I don't understand why you two are here. He said this while pointing at Najire and Kami who were there. Melissa. They actually snuck in. Kami. Come on, if we want to be able to get back with our captain, then we have to start being with him all the time. Najire. And what better way than sleeping in the same bed? At that, the three girls became more protective of the young man under the gaze of the two who wanted to enter. Now they had to go directly to the UA where upon arriving each one went to their classes to rest a little or so they were going to think until they saw All Might enter the place with his usual smile. All Might. I want you all to get ready because we'll have classes soon. But that they had to change, since they only got everything ready when they were in front of the man and his smile. Lita. Professor, what are we going to do? All Might. That's a good question, young Lita. What we're going to do is go around the city, and if a problem arises then our duty is to solve it, that's what we'll have to do. But those words they began to walk through the city just to be seen by everyone. Jiru. I don't think we'll be able to do anything at this rate, I guess they'll just watch us and that's it. Izuku. Maybe it is that way, but there are no other options, we have to do it. Momo. And if we end up having something like a Nomu, maybe I'll use it for some experiments. But that they saw how a member of the class began to approach, Kirishima being the one who went to the back of everything. Izuku. Now what do you want, Red? Kirishima. I just want to apologize for what I said a while ago, you know, not to support yourself when you were attacked. Izuku. You know very well that a simple apology is of no use. Kirishima. Yes, I know, but I thought it meant nothing to do it privately and it was better to do it publicly. In truth, what I did was nothing manly and I want to fix that same mistake. At his words he just looked at the red-haired young man, while thinking a little just to come up with something to have a smile. Izuku. I think I can give you a chance, you apologize in a very brave way by throwing away your pride, let's keep walking. But that the red-haired boy began to feel happy as he accompanied him for such a thing. A while passed in which Kirishima spoke to him with his usual smile being noticed by the rest of the class at such a thing, until they saw how Izuku only managed to give him a smile like the Izuku of before, and the ways were going to continue that way if it were not for a building that came to explode being. But it was only advancing in a calm way before that. All Might. Students are nomus we have to. At one point he saw Izuku advancing with the girls. Izuku. Now Momo drives people away with the help of Jiru and Melissa. Jiru. Don't tell me you really plan to face those things alone. Izuku. No, I can already see what's coming. But that, rocks rose up and stuck into the nomus, followed by a spear that pierced some of them. Kami. Looks like we can prove to you that you can trust us now. Najire. This is going to be easier than it looks. Izuku. Just stop the nomus from doing anything. But that he attacked the nomus, beginning to destroy them before the eyes of everyone who could only see how they advanced, and at one point they noticed how part of the building was about to fall, if it weren't for the pillars that Kami raised, keeping them from moving. Najire. There are few nomus for one attack, it doesn't make sense to use so few. He said this as he went about destroying some nomus with his spear, as if it were nothing. Izuku. It means it's just a distraction, but I don't know what it's for. At that point they heard some explosions as they were near a forest, noticing how a giant sphere formed from it, which was pure rock just so it could begin to descend towards the city. Melissa. If that falls, there will be many deaths. Najire. Captain, I know what you're thinking. You can go, we'll take care of the rest. Izuku. Okay. All Might. Wait, what are they talking about? At that he saw how he jumped towards the rock while his body began to grow, showing that muscular form from before. Izuku. If you go against a lion you will face your inevitable defeat. But that he barely managed to land in front of the rock and was only able to receive it fully, causing him to step back from it, but at one point it stopped only for him to begin pushing it, using all his strength before the eyes of the people who were surprised by such a thing. All Might. Young Izuku needs help, he can't handle it. Izuku. Shut your mouth already. All Might. But I am his superior, I must. Before he finished speaking he was interrupted by the same person. Izuku. I am the Lion of Pride, the strongest, at night a weakling, but when dawn breaks the champion is born who will destroy all evils, you will appreciate my powerful and immense strength. But that he only moved forward, allowing him to reach the part where the rock was before, just to leave it there so it wouldn't move. Haminari. Truly impressive, he possesses enormous strength. Sato. Even if we all put together we wouldn't have done such a thing. At one point the young man landed in the middle of everyone, only for them to start cheering him like the girls for such a thing. Amy. We just need to know where the person responsible for this is. Boy. I think I have something. But that they saw a young man they were able to recognize almost immediately, who was walking with some villains who had pink rays on their heads. Melissa. It's just about Gother, a lot of time has passed, but time doesn't affect dolls. Gother. No, it doesn't. Najir. I think with this the sins have reunited again. At that, some people began to take photos of them before their eyes. Momo. And we started to become more famous. Izuku. It's normal, they are appreciating my enormous strength. At that, they gave him a little blow to the head. Jiru. You better get over that pride already. But that the young man had no choice but to leave his enormous pride behind and be in his normal form again. Izuku. Boy, sometimes it feels weird using sunshine. Momo. We better start keeping some things in mind. All Might. Wait a moment, you can't do something like that, jump into combat already having a strategy and other things without receiving an order. Izuku. Were you planning to endanger people's lives just by giving me orders? At that the man could only listen while he looked at him for such thing that they were telling him at that moment. Melissa. I think we better get going if we can't waste any time. But that alone they began to leave the place with a smile apart from having all the sins already gathered since they were at the UA without doing anything until at one point they began to see how things were normal with everyone being at the bar by the time classes ended. Jiru. So Gother you were able to return with us from what I can see. Gother. Yes, I spent a lot of time among all the people doing many things. Momo. I think it's fine to hear you out but I wish Izuku would pay more attention if you care. He said this while they watched as Izuku was only touching Melissa, who only managed to blush slightly while not doing anything. Izuku. We just had a battle and Melissa isn't that strong, so I check her heart rate. Melissa. Really? Faced with that, he could only take a blow from Kami, causing him to release Melissa completely. Kami. You better focus once and for all. Izuku. Then Gother would like to know about something you have to tell us that is important. Gother. Yes, it seems that the Demon King is aware of your presence, is trying to find you, and wants to send the commandments so that he can end things once and for all. At that the young man was only thinking about that thing. Izuku. They try to send us to the commandments then we will have to fight against them we have no other choice, and hopefully we will make them join us to finish off the Demon King. Momo. But we have to be careful, in the past you transformed into a very cruel demon with your assault mode, and if it weren't for Escanor we wouldn't have gotten out of that alive. Izuku. I know but I have something that Zeldris wants, something he wants more than the position of Demon King, something he really wants. Kami. That sounds good from what I hear. Izuku. Yes, but for that we have to move with some care, since they are not going to move in a way that we can hear them, and they are not going to want to hear us either. Najir. You must have something that each of you wants so that you can come to an agreement. Izuku. Yes, I know and I think I have the way to convince all the possible demons. But that they only looked at the young man for such words that he was giving while in another part the commandments were coming out of his seal. Alan. We can finally leave, now I want to know where the traitor is. Melascula. They sent us as an idiot because we don't know for sure if he is around here. Zeldris. The important thing is to know where it is because the Demon King sent us to destroy it, although more important is to know where we are. Monspeet. From this point I see that what would be the kingdom looks very different, it has no walls, it has no towers, this place is strange. Brawl. Most likely they were simply able to adapt to new things, and that is why we see them differently now because they act differently. Zeldris. Then let's avoid drawing attention to ourselves, we have to start walking among the people so we can adapt to this kind of things, and whatever happens when we find Meliodas or whoever has his power now, don't kill him immediately before we have to take some time. He said this as he began to walk and was followed by his group, who did nothing more than listen to their captain, while in the bar, Izuku only looked at the ceiling, while he had the girls on his sides and on top of him. Izuku. So they've arrived, I guess it'll be a matter I'll have to deal with another time. He said this while trying to sleep with the girls. Chapter 8 The Seal. At the academy they were all doing nothing but relaxing while they were in their normal classes as always, although as always now Izuku was quite close to his loved ones, although Kami and Najir were not present at those moments, but if he would have continued that way. Melissa. It's strange that nothing interesting has happened so far. Momo. Now that you mention it, it's true, although I guess we have no choice but to accept things as they are. Izuku. Although now that I think about it I have to go somewhere later, I guess there's something that's about to go wrong. Jiru. What are you talking about? Before the young man could speak he was interrupted by his teacher. Izawa. Hello everyone, I'm afraid we have a test right now and I must ask you all to go outside. Those present listened only to end up seeing how apart from class 2 there was class B, somewhat confusing everyone. Izuku? What's going to happen now? Melissa? Maybe it's something interesting. Izuku? I guess so, although I prefer to do this. He said this while he was touching the girl, so that she ended up blushing for such a thing, only to be hit by Jiru, who had a slight blush while she was somewhat upset. Jiru? I already told you not to do that kind of thing in front of everyone. Izuku? Well, later I'll touch you the same way. But that I ended up receiving a bigger blow while the girl was blushing even more. Jiru? I don't talk about that kind of thing. All Might. Please class, I must ask you to listen to me. The test is between class A and B, where they will be able to form a group of 5 on their own, then the groups will divide, since some will leave a bomb in a city where there will be a battle of villains against heroes. Lita. Like last year's test. Uraraka. I don't think it'll be that complicated at the end of all this. Izuku. If we can choose our members, all the better. In that way, as was quite obvious, the young man stayed with his loved ones even though a member was missing, but that was not going to matter soon. Melissa. We still need one. Jiru. Then we should team up with someone else. Kirishima. Excuse me but I would like to join you. Izuku. Well I guess there's nothing wrong with that. He said this as his group began to form that shape. Izawa. Okay, now the first group to go is going to be Izuku's group against Bakugo's group. Izuku. He wants to lose to me again, boy, did I embarrass him the other time. Momo. Let's just get this over with. Bakugo's group consisted of Monoma, Tesu, Kendo and Kaminari. When they finally had a place where they could rest, they only stayed in the place where they remained calm. Izuku. We just have to keep the bombs safe, it's not going to be complicated. Melissa. Now we need to know how to separate ourselves. Izuku. It's going to be simple, Kirishima and Jiru are coming with me, we'll be at the front, Melissa and Momo in this part protecting the bomb as much as possible. Those present nodded their heads so that they could begin to leave the place walking, even though they were just beginning to walk. Jiru. It's not for nothing Kirishima, but I don't understand why you joined our group, we are literally your enemies in a way. Kirishima. Well, what happens is that I really want to fix the things I did, they were a serious mistake in the past, that's why I would like to at least leave things right with Izuku. Jiru. Isn't it more because he's the strongest in the class right now? Kirishima. Nothing like that, I just know that I was not a man. Izuku. Anyway, I can see that your apology is true, I know just by looking at your face, now the most important thing is that we can try to keep things under control, because they are in front of us. But that they saw how some explosions went against them, but the noise of a bell was heard as he returned to where he came from, leaving a Bakugo who barely managed to dodge him. Bakugo. Now Deku, I will show you who is the strongest of all. At one point the boy ended up dodging a Monoma that was behind him, which he grabbed to throw far away towards where the ash-haired man was. Monoma. Vala is really good at this. Jiru. Yes, but first let's settle things as they are. She said this as she began to throw some gusts of wind against a blonde who only managed to dodge her by trying to do his best to run. Jiru. It slipped out. Izuku. It doesn't matter, we still have something to have fun with at this part. Kirishima. I'll take care of Tesu, we still have certain things to resolve. Jiru. Sounds good, I'll take care of Kendo, and I guess we already know about the rest. Izuku. It's going to be pretty easy to take care of them, although I guess they only want one thing. They saw how they began to go against her as the orange-haired girl tried to take the rocker by surprise from a blind spot, but as soon as she was able to get close, she ended up being pushed by a wind, followed by being thrown against a wall, only for her to continue in the same way with wind currents. Kendo. He's actually stronger than I thought, his new quirk is quite strong. Jiru. Come on, we're not done yet. He said this as he tried to attack her with more air currents that were destroying the place where they were, being the area where it is like a factory, causing the tubes to begin to fall. In another fight there was a clash of walls between Kirishima and Tesu, who hit each other, trying to find out who was the toughest of the two fighters with similar quirks. Tesu. I will defeat you and show who is the toughest of the two. Kirishima. I don't think you can defeat me, I'll show you why I'm the wall of class A. Tesu. That's nothing to me, I'll just make you look bad. He said this as he tried to push him back at the same time as the other rival in front of him, causing sparks to fly between the two, causing them to stay where they were. In another fight, Monoma and Bakugo were surrounding the young Sin with their explosions until they launched themselves against him, creating large amounts of explosions that hit his body, causing him to have no choice but to supposedly fall unconscious, or at least that's what these two arrogant men thought. Monoma. Now you can see it properly, you are not capable of facing us. Bakugo. I'm much better than a simple Deku, and now I hope you understand that. Izuku. So they want to fight with pride, then I have no choice but to respond to this fight with another greater pride, although it is obvious that I am the strongest. He said this while showing off his muscles to the two arrogant people, as he was also bigger. Monoma. As if that could really stand up to us, I'll show you right now how inferior you are. He said this as he tried to launch himself against him, hitting the pride of sins with his explosions, creating a cloud of smoke, but from it a fist ended up coming out, hitting the blonde head-on, causing him to crash into a wall, while he spit out a large amount of blood, surprising Bakugo only for him to look in fear at the young man who was beginning to emerge from the smoke. Izuku. I guess you're just idiots for facing me, I'm going to finish you off right now. The young man began to walk against him, although in another part where the bomb was located only a blonde man entered the place. Kaminari. Finally, now I will beat them myself. The boy was about to go but at one point a light that came from the darkness hit him directly causing him to end up crashing into a wall. Melissa. Sorry but we can't let you through. Momo. Now we just have to finish this one as soon as possible. Kaminari. Lucky for me, at least I have the two biggest hitches in the class to myself right now, I'm definitely going to enjoy every moment I spend with you guys. He said this as he began to pull out a large amount of electricity which he launched against him, but from one moment to the next, a perfect cube appeared in front of him, preventing it from hitting him directly. Momo. You didn't think that your electricity was actually going to be enough to deal with us, to be honest you're really not capable of facing us. Melissa. And it's time we made it clear to you where we stand in terms of power. And that he made a large amount of light come out of his hand, hitting the blonde head-on, causing the young man to come out at any moment and end up breaking the wall, becoming unconscious, although he was trapped in a perfect cube. Back in the previous fight, Izuku was only seriously humiliating Bakugo and Monoma, although the latter was left unconscious in the process of the fight. Izuku. I thought they were going to last longer to be honest, but I see that they really didn't last as long as I expected. In fact, to be honest, I'm not surprised by this type of thing. Bakugo. Miserable nerd, I'm supposed to be the strongest, I'm supposed to be the best of all so I can have a great fight, but instead I have to fight against a miserable person who out of nowhere had a strength superior to mine, something that doesn't make sense. Izuku. Don't think that it all ends up being a waste of time, just look around you at the better things, everyone was defeated. He said this while he was standing there, Jiru who managed to keep Kendo in a dome of air, preventing him from escaping, while on the other side was a Kirishima on his knees, taking deep breaths of air, while he had a defeated Tesu on the floor. Kirishima. In the end I showed who is the strongest of all, the one who is worthy of being called the UA Wall. Jiru. So you're finally done with your match, that leaves us with just one thing. At that moment Melissa and Momo arrived with an unconscious Kaminari, while Izuku began to return to normal. Izuku. Now you understand what's happening, you literally face the strongest group, there's no need to try to make us look bad, but it's better that you give up, there's nothing you can do now. He said this as he started walking, trying to keep his distance until Bakugo could only get angry at the sight he was seeing. Bakugo. Miserable idiot, don't think you're going to leave me like this, I will destroy you myself. The ash-haired man was about to attack, but at one point when he launched one of his explosions, a bell was heard causing the attack to return towards Bakugo, hitting him squarely, so that he fell to the floor unconscious because of that. Izuku. You even forget that I have full counter on my side, you literally can't fight me like nothing. Melissa. Then we win, we can go now. Izuku. If we just go there's not much to do right now. Little by little they began to leave the place, and at one point Izuku just stood still while looking at a specific part, confusing his group a little. Momo. Is something wrong? Izuku. I didn't just think I felt something, but I don't think it matters anymore, they are just small details, nothing more than that. He said this while he could only return to his group while in another part he was inside a cave deep inside it by a fairly large mountain on a rock, with some strange signs began to break a little, so that a great violet light became present, only for a being to come out, who could barely do it began to walk with a little difficulty, until reaching a part being the commandment of truth Galland who managed to free himself. Galland. Miserable Meliodas, you sealed us again, even though I'm the only one who got out, the rest will be able to get out soon. He said this as he began to leave the place, starting to walk with a little difficulty. Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching, if you enjoyed this video please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day, bye.